As is pretty often with these things, it's not always as simple as just going to the door. So the first time I came out, I actually couldn't get in. There was no key, there's no combination, no box. So I'm back to the property for a second go around. Keys on the back door, which is located in the alley. I do have some footage of the front side, which I'll show you. And I'll show you the alley it's located in here, and I'll spin around the other side. So, issue number one that we can see. Obviously, there's no good parking here. So that's gonna be a big, big problem because it's not far from a major road. Bear with me here, we're gonna head in. Let me get the key unlocked here. You guys are going for the full run today. Which, of course, it just started snowing. Which is always nice. Okay, so we got the key. Let's check out the property. talk about what we saw. Let's see, is this a good potential investment? So just a quick disclaimer, guys, this is a shallow dive into the property. Now, typically my showings last a lot longer than this one did. Obviously, it's going to be cut down for time, but this was a relatively quick run through. I was looking for big items, things that are glaring. I'm not going too deep into it. For example, I didn't go to the attic. I didn't check out the rafters. I did go to the basement, but I didn't go too far and too deep, heavy into the property because there was actually enough there with just what I saw for me to make a good assessment. So let's go over some of that stuff. I wrote it all down. I'm going to use my notes so I don't forget. All right, so let's talk about it. Some things that stood out. Let's go right from the basement. So when we went in, we saw the basement had water in there. It was taking on water. Not uncommon in borough basements. Not uncommon in some areas where you've got a lot of townhouses and there's a lot of concrete around and there's a lot of hills around, which this one was at the bottom of a hill. So that's not necessarily something scary. However, I didn't see a sump pump in there, which means that they were going to have to do all the remediation themselves. I did see a humidifier that wasn't doing its job. It was very musty, very mildewy, very just heavy moisture in the air. The basement was very short. I could not stand straight up. I would hit the rafters. Again, in a borough basement, that's not a big deal. Those are used for mostly just excess storage. The big problem with this one, though, was that the basement was where the laundry was located, which means that every time you want to go do your laundry, you're going to have to crouch way down in that stinky smell and clean your clothes. Not many people want to do that, which means if you've got renters, if you've got tenants, they're going to have to go to a professional laundromat, which takes time, which takes money, which reduces the amount of rental income you can request on the property. Number two, the water heater was definitely outdated. It was based on the serial number. I did pull the records after we left, and it was built in 2010, manufactured 2010, so it's at least 13 plus years old. At this point, and especially given kind of how it looked, I would replace it. 100 amp service was another one we saw. Again, now we're talking about houses, we're talking about a townhouse. It's not necessary to have 200 amps, but today is a smart world and everything draws electricity. So if you are renting this as a 3-bedroom, which it could be equipped for, but even as a 2-bedroom with a couple of kids and game systems and phones and smart TVs and this and that, you can really draw a lot off that 100 amp system. So that's something that needs to get checked into. The other thing, this is a big one, by the way, and I hope I got a good enough video for you to see it. Efflorescence growing and coming out of the floor of the concrete in the basement. Now, that's typically a sign that moisture is getting into the concrete. It's pushing the minerals through the concrete, and then it's drying out. It looks, it almost looks like cotton strands in a way. It also looks a little bit like frost, but it's not. It's not cold and it's not wet, but it is a sign that you've got moisture coming in. Ultimately, that's going to create a problem later on down the line. There's no telling how long, but if you've got moisture getting into the concrete and it's cracking and it's breaking and it's freezing and it's melting, you're going to have problems at some point. So that's something that really needs to be looked at and considered if someone was going to go into a property like this. That leads me to my other glaring, huge, massive, massive problem with this property. The ceiling heights are only about 6 foot high. Now, in the video, I think you can see it, and I'll try to capture that part of it. There's like this much room between my head and the ceiling on the 2nd and 3rd floors, and especially in the bathroom. So somebody who's 6 foot, there's no way you're taking a shower in that bathroom. No way. And there's only one bathroom, by the way. So the ceiling height is a big issue. That's a very short, very narrow type of a space. It makes you feel like you're in a much tighter area than you actually are. It's not a comfortable way to live. That has a huge impact on your ability to rent this for top dollar. People want space, even if it's just the perception of space. But something I did see on the 2nd floor, and I did get video of it, it looks like they did at some point in time have knob and tube electric in this house. So it looks like they may have replaced it. I didn't see any remaining downstairs, but that doesn't mean there's none upstairs. That's something you'd have to check into and have an electrician ideally do it so you get it done the right way. If there is, that's got to be remediated. It's got to be taken out. Insurance companies charge a fortune for houses that have knob and tube wiring still left in them. And a lot of insurance companies will tell you that you only have 60 or maybe 90 days to remove it before they'll even actually fully insure the property. So that needs to be addressed. And then the parking issue. Wow. So this house is in an alley. It's a very tight alley. No parking in the alley. If you go around the other side, you can find along the street some parking, but it's not for this unit. It's for all the units that are back there, and there's several. So there's basically no parking available. Again, when we're talking about rental income, how do we get top dollar? That's going to affect your ability to get the top dollar for the rental income. It really hits it hard. No parking, tight space, tight house, small ceilings, not enough amperage, water in the basement. I mean, you keep on going down the list, and there's just thing after thing after thing after thing. And then finally, let's talk about the conversion. So it's listed as a 2-bedroom with a conversion capability to 3, which can be done. On the 3rd floor, you could convert that one space into another bedroom if you put up a wall and had an access door, because you can't access a bedroom through a bedroom. You have to have 2 specific doors and 2 specific spaces that are delineated on their own. It can be done. But again, anytime you say it can be done, you're talking about a cost. So we're adding cost. So on this property, your costs are going up and up and up to get in, but it's not going to necessarily add that much. Now, the bedroom will add rental income. Absolutely, it will add some. But with everything else you have to do, you're really going to be kind of scraping by. Originally, when I looked at the property, the full assessment was that it was going to be a home run. Now I'm not so sure. Okay, so final assessment, dollars and cents wise. So originally when I looked at the property, I was thinking it could rent somewhere around the $2,000 to $2,200 a month for the 3-bedroom version. Now, after being there, after seeing it, getting through it, I think realistically, maybe $1,600 a month for the 3-bedroom version, and maybe $1,300 to $1,400 for the 2-bedroom version with the extra loft space. And the reason why is all the things that I listed in the video. They're just not things that are going to bring you maximum dollar value return. So how does that affect the property? Well, it's right now, it's listed at $230,000 with 7.125 as your interest rate, which is what one of my lenders is offering right now. With 25% down, you're looking around $1,450 a month for the mortgage. If you get $1,600, that's only a positive flow of $150 a month. It doesn't cover your incidentals. It doesn't cover your maintenance costs. It doesn't cover your just in case. It doesn't cover really much of anything. So is this a good investment in year 1? No, not anymore. Is it a good investment for years 2, 3, and 4? That remains to be seen. I would be very skeptical. I would not recommend one of my buyers to go into this property as an investment property. The other part of it, let's talk about the potential growth aspect. The equity on this. Can this property grow to 250, 275, 300? With those factors, being in an alley, having no parking, very short ceilings, and limited for the consumer base, right? Because if you wanted to sell this to someone who was just an end user, someone who's going to live in the unit, if they're over 6 foot tall, they're not going to be comfortable. So you're limiting your buyer base as well. I think the potential upside here is extremely limited, and I don't see this property growing much and picking up much equity over the course of time. So in my opinion, this is one we walk away from, we move on to the next one and hope for better luck next time. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll do one of these. I'm going to try to do one of these every week. So stick with me. Make sure you check them back for more cool content. Have a good afternoon.